Hi, friends. Welcome. Welcome back to Insightful Healing. I am Amira, your lovely host. Whether you are catching this live or watching it back, I'm glad you made it here. Come hang out with me. This is our Sense of Self session 55. 55. I feel like there is something significant about tomorrow's session as I say that number out loud. I think it was, I don't know which day it was, child. Time is a weird thing in this brain of mine, but I do remember calling attention to the number 56 either yesterday or the day before. Okay, so that number could have been relevant for our session 56. I do feel like just in general tomorrow could be today for some of you. Tomorrow is a pretty significant day. But hope your day is going well or went well. I heard I can't call it. Okay. Okay, me either. Me either. I'm glad to be here though. Glad to be drinking my tea. Let's go ahead and set this energy straight. In case you wanted to have a sniff. I don't know which syllables go with what, so I'll just call you T. Hi T, thanks for joining. I hope you're feeling well today. Just cleansing the space. And let's get into our grounding ritual after a sip of tea. Or two. So tasty. This one is Vermont maple ginger. Oof, it's so good, y'all. So good. Okay. Feet planted on the surface beneath you if you are able-bodied and capable. One hand on the heart, one hand in the depths of the belly near that sacral chakra. And eyes closed if you're feeling safe. We're just going to take 3 intentional breaths, breathing in new, fresh, cleansing energy, and exhaling what doesn't serve us with intention. Two more, just like that. I needed that. There's something that's super powerful about the breath. And I think a lot of times we forget how powerful it is and just how much power we have over it. That particular part of the nervous system just does its own thing naturally without us having to think about it, without us tapping in and being grateful for it. But there's power in being able to use your breath and send your breath where you need it and regulate your nervous system when you need it. Um, okay, session 55. I have very little intuitive messages. As you can see, it's nearly evening time. Typically, I do these sessions in the morning when I first wake up, but today was shuffled a little differently, just like I'm having my tea right now. Um, I've been yearning for it all day. I didn't have time this morning, so I'm excited to have my warm cup of tea and sit with you guys and connect to ourselves and each other in the way that's purposeful today and in this space. I did hear a song. Um, I have no idea what the rest of the lyrics are. Probably most of you don't either, because the most popular part is when they say, "Express yourself." I literally don't know if there's any other words in that song or what it's about outside of expressing yourself. So there is something significant there for us to tune into. And as I'm saying that and reflecting on it, I'm thinking about how I was just talking about the power of the breath, the power that we have within us. I feel like don't waste your breath. Oh gosh, which is actually a saying in my culture. Okay, that idea of wasting your breath, which essentially means not to express things or say things to people who can't receive it, people who don't deserve it, right? Um, Definitely an interesting rule, if you will, to live by. I think on one hand, it's definitely important to protect your energy and protect your heart, especially in terms of expressing what's on your mind or what's on your heart. But I think sometimes we discount how powerful, again, how powerful our expression is. Maybe you're feeling like expressing yourself in a certain situation or to a particular person would be a waste of your breath, right? Or would feel like a waste of your time and your energy. But is it really a waste? Is it really? I think really that's contingent upon what our expectations are. Hi, Yacey. I I say that because if something is a waste, right, or if we classify it as a waste, that means that we always have expectations. A lot of times they are unconscious, right? They're unknown to us unless and until we reflect and really tap into what it is we are expecting. But it's a natural thing to have an expectation, even when we say, "I have no expectations," you know. Um, at the very least, we have an expectation that that thing will occur, okay, or that it will impact us in some kind of way. So, let's take a scenario of work, right? And somebody who is feeling like they're not being treated fairly or feeling like they're not being paid fairly. It's like, oh, my boss won't hear me, or my boss doesn't care, or nobody cares, and it'll just be a waste of my breath to express myself. But what is the expectation that's tied to that expression within that belief? The expectation may be my boss will pay me more money, give me a raise. My boss will change the policies and procedures around here. Well, what if the expectation was simply, I will grow, I will learn the power of expressing my needs and what it feels like in my body? What if the expectation is, I will plant a seed in the ears and mind of management, for how their employees are experiencing their work in the workplace? What if that was the expectation as opposed to, this thing will cause a significant change? Maybe it's something smaller. Maybe it's something more meaningful. Maybe it's something more powerful, but um, underestimated. I'm seeing the Wheel of Fortune in my mind's eye. Wheel of Fortune's Jupiter. It's unexpected change. Something about a dynamic, some kind of dynamic is changing. The thing about the Wheel of Fortune, though, is it calls for us to release control. We don't have control over what's changing. You know, that's the universe, divine timing, where people are in their own life and journey. And so we have to sort of surrender to the change. Part of that surrender sometimes is saying, let me shift my expectations. Shift them to a place where they're more realistic, more feasible. Shift them to a place where it makes an impact on me, my personal growth, relationships. So express yourself. It may not be a waste of your breath. The breath is definitely powerful, but how much power do you have over it? You don't have to express everything that's on your mind, everything that's in your heart. You choose the words, right? You can set the boundaries and the tone for the expression, and you ultimately set the expectation for what outcome you're seeking, what outcome, again, is feasible, and what's going to be meaningful for you. That was loud. Let's pull some cards. Should we start with the Oracle or the Tarot? I was just enjoying that dance. We're going to start with the Sense of Self Oracle deck. Available on my website if you are intrigued or curious. Just heard the name Adam. Well, I saw it, but same difference. Express yourself. Don't waste your breath. There's also different ways to express ourselves. It doesn't have to be verbal. It doesn't have to be verbal expression. Okay, my favorite way to express myself is in the written form. Just nonverbal in general, but specifically in the written form. What's your favorite way to express yourself? What's your favorite way to express yourself? We have Archangel Jophiel here. Number 21 reduces to a 3. And you see that sword there that is on fire. Cultivate a sense of inspiration. You know, this reminds me, I was having a conversation with someone earlier about jealousy. And then after that conversation, I heard something, maybe a video I was watching, where someone said, don't get jealous, get inspired. I think it was another tarot reader, actually. Um, don't get jealous, get inspired. Jealousy is a natural experience. However, it is also a sort of conviction to be curious about that. And if we were to turn jealousy into inspiration, what might that create for you? Even going back to that example of somebody who's wanting to get a raise at work, right? Maybe you feel like you deserve a raise and you're like, my other coworker who has been here less time than me or the same amount of time than me, they make more money than I do, yada, 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 right? And so there's this feeling of jealousy and it just causes this fire inside, which reminds me of, I think it was our reading yesterday, our session yesterday. It just causes this heat and this rage inside, which that anger and that jealousy, they are trying to communicate something. They're trying to communicate something. But a lot of us, we suppress our emotions, especially jealousy. We suppress it or um, express it in unhealthy ways. But what if we were to use that anger and that jealousy of that coworker and instead feel inspired to, again, have that hard conversation with our boss or start a business, look for another job, um, further our education, um, obtain justice in some kind of way. Because there's this feeling of injustice here. Let's see what the booklet says for 21. My body hurts. This card presents itself to you today as confirmation that you are a beautiful soul and being. At this time, Archangel Jophiel is providing you with creativity, insight, and inspiration. Pay close attention. Pulling this card challenges your sixth sense to be clear about what you want and take action. Your fifth sense to feel enlightened by Jophiel's yellow rays, providing creative solutions. Challenges your fourth sense to taste the refreshing taste of peppermint, soothing the depressive, anxious, and negative thoughts. Your third sense to smell sandalwood and orange essential oils, paired with citrine, enhancing your self-esteem and vitality for life. Your second sense, to hear the roaring fire of the burning sword, filled with clarity and direction. And your first sense, to see the sunrise of a brand new day, filled with possibilities. Jophiel translates to beauty of God, and she teaches us to keep our soul pure in our thoughts of ourselves and each other. Yeah, there's some jealousy here, for sure. The goal is to be aware of how our thoughts and lack of clarity are holding us back. Archangel Jophiel's flaming sword represents an awakening that is always available to us when we're open to it. It's about finding a healthy balance in our emotional space, and sometimes actively choosing to see the beauty in negative situations. Tough times are typically tougher when we choose to focus on the negative parts of the situation. Our parents and loved ones can only give us but so much guidance as we grow. Many things have to be learned on our own, in our own time, in our own way, and sometimes we experience the same lessons over and over again. That's the truth, though. Life lessons are how we grow, but our willingness will dictate the path. Over the course of my life, there are some lessons that came and went. They were fairly easy, not detrimental, and perhaps didn't cause a big fuss with my ego. The harder lessons, however, I've had to retake the tests for. That's the truth. That is the truth. As always, I invite you to attach your own stories to these cards in the Sense of Self Oracle deck as they are presented. Maybe for you, this is a lesson of experiencing jealousy. Maybe it's a lesson of experiencing a negative situation and finding difficulty in obtaining clarity and peace within that situation. There's definitely clarity to be reached, but it has to be sought after intentionally. And I think that, I was going to say, I fear that. So, okay. Someone may be feeling like afraid of their emotions. That's a common thing, especially with anger. All right. And especially if you had specifically childhood experiences where anger was displayed in an unhealthy way, or just simply it was unsafe to express your anger. Okay. I forget where I was going, so I guess that's what needed to be expressed. Let's pull a tarot card and see what else is here. Express yourself. There's a lot to be expressed. And it's hard, especially when you're experiencing a lot of emotions. Sometimes it doesn't come out the way that you want it to, the way that you need it to, or in a healthy way. But that's why I say, like, what is your favorite way to express? Maybe it doesn't need to be all verbal, or maybe you need to express it to yourself first in written form, so that you can process what it is that you're feeling. Or some other creative expression. I'm very much a fan of art-based expressions. Specifically, taking a picture, right? Like a coloring page. And one that speaks to you, speaks to the situation that you're experiencing, or just you connect with it in some other way, right? And then choose 5 different colors, and you assign those colors an emotion. So for instance, if I chose, let's just go with the rainbow: red, yellow, green, blue, purple. Maybe I say green in this case is gonna represent fear. Let's say maybe I want green to represent fear. And it's with intention. Again, you choose what color is going to be assigned what, but then you take that green crayon, marker, color pencil, whatever utensil you're using, and you color in on that coloring page. Or maybe you might just do this on a blank sheet of paper. That works too. But you color in, and while you're coloring, you're thinking about, like, okay, how much of what I'm experiencing is fear? Like, how much of this picture or this page here represents my fear? And so that's how much green is going to go on there. But while it's happening, you're connecting to that fear. You're connecting to that emotion. The green is connecting to what it feels like in your body. And so you're processing that emotion at the very same time. It may, you know, I just heard subdue. Okay. Subdue. Subdue. What does that mean? To subdue something? It's like a blockage, or like holding something. Okay, interesting. Yeah, there may be a need to release emotions here. But anyway, it may allow you to process that emotion in such a way that you gain the clarity that you're needing. Okay? Cultivate a sense of inspiration. So use what you're experiencing in your body, in your mind, and in your heart space, and express yourself. Maybe you express yourself by way of dance, singing. Ooh, child. The Five of Swords. Okay. Yeah, I mean, somebody's angry. Somebody's a little angry. And the Three of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. There could be multiple people involved here, but I mean, the Five of Swords is there's no happy ending here at all. This is just like a whirlwind of anger. Like, maybe somebody that either only knows how to or enjoys sitting in negative emotions. Sometimes we have to sit in them to process them, but are they being processed, or are you just accepting the jealousy, the anger, the spite? Five of Swords is definitely a tarot card that represents jealousy. I believe it's Mars energy, if I'm not mistaken. Five of Swords. Mars. There's a difference of opinion, difference of desire. But in the Five of Swords, nobody wins. Nobody wins. There's a fight that's happening. There's names being called. There's spite. There's jealousy. There's, I heard a tyrant. Okay, might be. And like, yes, that person is back there with their head hanging low, and this person looks like they've defeated them, but it's like, okay, does it actually feel good to have defeated that person? Do you really have what you were looking for? Again, going back to what our expectations are when we get into something. Are you just doing something so that you can make that other person feel a negative emotion? That's something to be assessed, within us. That's something to reflect on. Is that not focusing? There it is. YouTube doesn't like naked cards, but I really don't care, to be honest with you. If you were here and you got the message, then you were meant to see it. If they take it down, then other people weren't. That's how I feel about that. And that's the way the cookie crumbles. There's quite an intensity here in this session, but I feel like, a broken wreck. I'm not really saying anything different at this point. I think I've said all that needs to be said, so let's see what our journal prompt's going to be for session 55. Express yourself. I have two thoughts. I'll say the journal prompt first, and then I'll go into those two thoughts. The journal prompt that I have, and I'm always welcoming of journal prompts that you guys come up with, or anything that hearing anything that triggered you. I mean, I'm open to that as well. It's important to identify our triggers, not to make other people responsible for them, but important to be aware of them and identify them, especially if we have experienced trauma. Okay, that's actually a key component in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, identifying our triggers. Okay, somebody needed to hear that. The journal prompt that I came up with: what is a creative, healthy way that I can express these emotions? What is a creative, healthy way that I can express these emotions? Some of you may be learning new ways to express yourself. Okay, I hope that just in this time here with me, or maybe somebody in the comments has an idea. Hopefully you're able to see a different perspective. The two things, though, that I wanted to say in addition to that before I get up off of here. What the first thing is, how are we identifying healthy? Like, where's the line? Where's the line between healthy and unhealthy? There is some, traditional or general standards, but for the most part, it's specific to you. What's healthy for you and what's unhealthy for you. It's specific to your dynamic, yeah. There's some kind of relationship dynamic here that maybe is teetering the line between healthy and unhealthy. Okay. The second thing I thought of was, yeah, somebody's like learning about their emotions, or there's a need to, there's a need to tap into, ¿cómo se dice? Like the basic level, okay? Like the way that emotions are taught when you have zero knowledge already in your brain, right? Somebody needs to get down to the basics of what this emotion is, what that emotion is, and specifically to you, what does this emotion feel like in my body? What thoughts are attached to that emotion, if that's relevant? But I wanted to say specifically about anger and just draw the example of someone I knew some time ago who did not understand that anger is an emotion. Now, this was somebody who was an adult, somebody who has had many traumatic experiences, has had many life experiences, okay? Um, but they did not have that basic understanding that anger is an emotion. Anger is typically the surface level, right? And there's more to be uncovered, more to be identified, typically beneath anger. I think here in this message today is jealousy. But yeah, it, it, I just wanted to draw that example, not to take, again, don't think that you expressing yourself is going to be a waste of breath. Sometimes people need to hear what you have to say for their own growth, and sometimes you need to say it for your own growth. It was within that conversation. I don't remember what the conversation was about, but I was able to teach that person that anger is an emotion that they were experiencing. It's an emotion. And just like the others, it needs processing. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me while I drink my tea. I hope you had a good time here. And if you did, maybe come back and join me some other time. Okay? Anything you need to know or curious about is likely in the description box. But until next time.